Welcome to Generation GPS Podcast, your go-to guide for navigating life's intricate pathways of everyday life. We'll explore the topics that matter, from relationships, wellness, finances, and more. I'm your host, Tameka Green.
And I'm LaDonna Green. So, why did we decide to start Generation GPS? I'm going to say a few things that I know Tameka, she's actually the mastermind behind this idea, but several years ago, we were talking about what it's like as we age. And it's not that we're old. I mean, I'm 45.
And I'm 50.
So we're young, but we also noticed that we're in a different stage. And a lot of it was like pop culture references and the things that matter to us. And then as life happened, some of the aging happened. And it made us realize, some of this stuff resonates with other people, and maybe our voices, because Tameka's worked in different capacities where she's been able to touch a lot of different people and her experiences in her life. I've done the same. And somewhere in the middle, other people fall along that line of aging and wanting to know what to do. And we both saw a need, even more so, more relevant now, but we saw the need for trying to navigate things like finances and wellness and things from a parent being ill and having to change your course of life because you need to take care of them, or maybe you picked up a few pounds and you want to lose the weight, or other things, dealing with friends and loss and death. We thought, let's find a way to navigate life. We'll do it together as sisters, but then let's see what we can do to help other people.
So, yeah, I think, similarly, I think the first flag for me was our aging parents. Mm-hmm. Our mom has some minor health challenges, and those health challenges began to make me think about her long-term care and how much little I have ever thought about her long-term care.
Yeah.
And then I have some health challenges and became very ill several years ago. And, I'm single and I don't have children. So I, too, started to think about my long-term care, and very little I thought about that. And so those were the two major things that really started getting me interested in learning more about, well, what does that look like? And, mom and dad are the primary thing for me, but of course myself, but they're really, because they're older. So as I started to look for resources, or even where to begin, I was like, I have no idea where to even start. I've never thought about this. I never thought about them getting old. That was never, of course I knew they would get old conceptually, yes. But literally, okay, so, and what am I supposed to do about that? Am I supposed to, what am I supposed to do about that? That's my responsibility? Well, don't you put them somewhere? Don't they automatically just go somewhere? I don't know. What are you asking me?
But the biggest part about it, though, is when you're a child and you look at your parents, if you have both your parents or whoever was your elder in your life, they're Superman, they're Superwoman. They can do it all. They can, wait, yeah, I have to take care of them?
Yeah, but it's just this weird kind of thing, whenever you'd go out in public and see your teacher in the grocery store and you're like, you're at the grocery store? What are you doing at the grocery store?
You eat?
You shop you shop the same groceries and it's well, of course. But when you're little and you're, this figure, this adult figure, to your point, this authority figure, they're like, of course. I never thought about my teacher going home and having a life, driving home or putting on clothes. But my point is you get to a point in your life where things begin to happen and change, and if you, and then you start to think about these things. And as I began to look for resources, I didn't really find as many. First of all, I didn't know where to start. Mm-hmm. And then once I started to kind of figure out at least certain avenues to go down, I kind of hit a roadblock. And so I felt like there was a gap. There wasn't a lot of information, or very limited information, about how to take care of aging parents, or what happens if an aging parent becomes sick instantly or has a tragedy or something of that nature. Like, what do you do? And so that was the impetus for me to want to do something like this, because I'm sure I'm not alone. And as I've also spoken to friends that are my age, they're also dealing with the same thing, because our parents are in their 70s. And some of my friends have parents that are in their 70s, and some of them also in their 80s. And so they're really in the thick of dealing with all of this kind of stuff. It's things like this that I think create a space for folks that are in similar situations like you and I are, that may also be at a loss, but also we can build community around building, a place where we can come and gather and get information, but also lean on each other for not only sharing information with each other, but also for support. But also, getting expert information, because we do plan on having guests from time to time join us that can speak to certain topics and issues that we want to bring up as we present these episodes to you. And so this is also why I think it's important to create spaces where people can really speak candidly and openly about challenges that they're having that may be uncomfortable or unfamiliar. And so this is also why I think this podcast can create a unique space and value proposition for those that are interested.
Yeah. And I feel like, too, to add on to that, a free, safe space, free of judgment. Because I think a lot of times, whether you've gone to college or you got 5 advanced degrees and a PhD, sometimes life gets the better of us. You might have all the savings in the world, but you didn't think to fix the will, or, no one plans to get into a horrific accident or a plane crash and then lose a family member or become disabled. You thought you had it all planned out. And sometimes, like I said, life sneaks upon you. That in and of itself, there's a burden to that loss or to that event. And then you start having all these questions. You start asking, well, why didn't I do this? And then you're starting to give yourself a hard time at a time where you need a safe place to bounce your ideas, people, things, resources, where you can feel like, okay, I'm in a bad spot, or I'm in a difficult, questionable spot, but I need to find a resolution, and I need to find resources. And that's what we want. This is going to help us. But, because we are kind people, and we want to make sure we build our community, we want other people to be able to participate in that. And we don't know everything. That's why we're going to have guests. Even with the information that we've learned, the knowledge base that we have, empirical data, all the way down to experiences that we've had, there's millions of people in this world who have their own experiences and their own knowledge. And just imagine if we all could come together and say, look, we might not know everything by ourselves, but we can definitely build a community where we can learn from each other and make those times when life changes, good or bad, a lot easier than just feeling like you got your hands out and you're like, I don't know what to do next.
Great. While Generation GPS caters to a wide audience, it particularly resonates with Gen Xers, Millennials, and Gen Zers. And we really are focused on providing enlightening information, again, making sure that we're a valuable resource, but we want to be supportive and guide you through life's most challenging experiences with empathy, clarity, and practicality. One of the topics that we'd like to talk about, which is very timely, is job loss. I would say probably in the last 24 to 30 months or so, millions of people in the United States alone have lost their jobs due to mergers and acquisitions, due to downsizing, due to businesses going out of business, a wide variety of reasons. And in the last, 70 days, is it by now, LaDonna?
I'd say probably about 65, 75 days. Yeah.
Since President Trump has started his second presidency, hundreds of thousands of people have abruptly lost their jobs in a matter of a moment. A lot of people have never been unemployed.
Exactly.
There are a lot of newly unemployed people that have been fortunate and lucky enough to have been able to keep their jobs for 20 30 years within the federal government
Mm-hmm.
that walked in one day and were told, thank you for your service. You're no longer performing well, or your probationary period is over. Turn in your badge. You have 1 hour to clean off your desk.
Here's your
And,
brown box.
and here's your banker's box. And oh, by the way, you're not going to get a severance package. And your benefits end tonight at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. We want to have a conversation in the next episode about job loss, especially abrupt job loss that a lot of people have been witnessing over the last several weeks. And so we'll have some resources available for folks that have been laid off, not only in the federal or government sector, but we'll also talk about resources, tools, and other areas that may be able to provide you some assistance if you have been laid off in the public and private sector.
Yeah, I think it's Tameka and I both have experienced job loss, especially when you live in when you work in tech spaces like the both of us have. Sometimes tech companies are new and sometimes are a little older, and you think that they have their established the company's established enough to maintain their headcount, but sometimes that's not the case. And then in this, like Tameka was saying, there are some people who are literally retirement age, the only job they've ever had, and they're 32 years in, and then you go to log in on your laptop, or you go to scan your badge and they walked in and then they don't have a job anymore. So I feel like one of the things that I know I've started to compile and I want to make sure we share is, and some of these are basic resources and we're going to try to get as in depth as we can, but recognize just like my sister and I are different and we do have some similarities. You may be different and your job and your lifestyle is different, but these are just basic and intentional resources that we want to give you all, and know that if nothing less, this is starting place, because sometimes you can get stuck in analysis paralysis and there's a lot going on. Sometimes people don't know about local resources, government resources that are available. There could be community programs that are available that you don't know about, and we want to make sure we can kind of chip away at that part of it so people can get information that they may not have. And this might not affect you yet, but that doesn't mean it doesn't affect someone that you love or that you care for, or it may affect you in the future. Either way, we want to make sure that we're offering actionable advice, resources, and a safe space for people to say, hey, I can navigate it. That's why we call the podcast Generation GPS, because sometimes the GPS tells you to recalculate. Sometimes it's a straight path. Sometimes you have to turn around. Sometimes it disconnects from the network, but that doesn't mean that you cannot navigate the space, and you don't have to do it alone. And that's what Tameka and I've been doing. Yeah, we're sisters. We've been together for decades, but the idea of knowing that we can support each other is a blessing in and of itself, because there's some people who are by themselves. They don't have relatives. They don't have siblings. They don't have family members that they can connect with, or they're thousands of miles away from their closest loved one. But you're not too far away from a podcast and being able to listen to our stories and the help that we can give. And hopefully as the community grows, people who are willing to share.
And your stories as well. We definitely want to make this a community. And so we'll definitely be inviting you to share your challenges and your celebrations as well on your life's journey with us, because we want this podcast to evolve over time. We want it to grow and reach as many people as it needs to, again, to be that resource. But what we also want to make sure that you feel like it's something that is a part of you. As your life changes, our life changes as well. And so we will all change and grow together. So we invite you to join us on this journey. We thank you in advance for your support, and we thank you in advance for sharing your stories and sharing your voices. And we look forward to seeing you on the other side. And I'll turn it over to LaDonna to close us out.
Tameka said it best. We're here to create a community. We want you to feel like navigating this is doable. And it reminds me of a conversation I had with the high school counselor that we both shared at some point, even though we didn't go to school at the same time. And this counselor, I was having a difficult time, and I went in her office and she said, you know what, LaDonna, you can only eat an elephant one bite at a time, but you can eat it. And life sometimes feels like a really big fat elephant. But we have to pick away at life, and we can do it in digestible bits. And I know that that's something we aspire to because, hey, we need digestible bits. But we also know that the way we can articulate our ideas and glean information and share with other people can leave a lasting impact. And that's what we're going for. So I am your co-host, LaDonna Green.
And I'm Tameka Green. Thanks. We'll see you on the other side.
Bye.